Good afternoon, namaste, adab. Very warm welcome to the Shruti Dutt show. Today we are going to be meeting a Supreme Court advocate on record, Mr. Nishant Srivastav, and we will be discussing and increasing our awareness about the matrimonial laws. So right there, he's on the screen. Hi, Nishant. So
Good
let
evening.
me tell you something about Nishant before we begin the discussion. So Nishant Kumar Srivastav is an advocate on record at the Supreme Court of India and the founder and managing partner of Actors Legal Associates and Advocates in New Delhi, an alumnus of the prestigious Campus Law Center, University of Delhi, and may I add a topper also, since I know that. So he specializes in domestic and international arbitration, criminal defense, white collar crime, women's rights, and matrimonial disputes. Recognized as one of India's leading arbitration lawyers under 45, Nishant has several reported judgments to his credit and represents high profile clients across major courts. A respected voice in media, academia, and legal forums. He is also sought after expert for POSH trainings and legal awareness programs. So today, very warm welcome, Nishant. I'm so excited to have you on
Thank you
board
so much. Thank you
and
so much to you.
discuss this discussion. Like we had some glitches before we started, so I think everything in the environment is nervous about this. Just as youngsters get nervous about getting married, and even more
Yes,
nervous about staying married, and then again the divorce.
yes,
So
yes.
this whole
The
situation,
topic
the
is such.
energy
The
is
topic
of
is such that
nervousness. I think that's why we went through all this. So
yes, ma'am.
anyway, now that we are here, I would like you to quickly, tell my audience what are those matrimonial laws. Like, suppose we are ready to get married. What are the laws that we should be absolutely aware of? Because many times I've seen youngsters have no idea about the legal things. It's only the family and home. The culture and the caste and all that is there. But legally, क्या ठीक है क्या नहीं है आप please बताएं.
Very fun, ma'am. Thank you so much, and a very good evening to everyone, every audience over here who is watching this program. Uh, we are starting this discussion with the laws in connection with marriage. But let me tell you, as a matter of fact, the laws in India, they are more like they don't prescribe anything as to what should be done in a marriage, what a spouse should do, what are the obligations of a spouse or something. It's generally controlled by our our customs, traditions, cultures, and religious practices. So an expectation in a Hindu marriage act from the husband or the wife can be different from what is there in a Muslim marriage. So, however, when we talk about laws concerning the marriages, there are, if we talk about Hindus, the codified law is there for Hindus, a bit of Parsis, and the Christians only, and there is no codified law as such for the woman, which controls or supervises the woman marriages. Now, the primary law in India, which concerns with marriage and divorce, succession, and all these things, if we talk about marriage itself, then it is a Hindu Marriage Act 1955, which describes about which are the relationships between which marriages cannot happen, and what if the marriage goes to a rough phase, and the parties, the husband or the wife wants to get separated. So there are provisions, like section 13 is there, and there is 13B, mutual divorce. So there are certain provisions over there. Now, in marriages, we have heard, we come across many disputes and lot many cases we have heard in the recent times.
Right.
And most of the time, if we see the Indian society is growing up, it's maturing that way, but it hasn't come to that maturity level. And that's why we find women at the receiving end in a domestic relationship. So, in order to protect the women, there have been many legislations enacted by the parliament, which protect the women in a domestic relationship from any kind of violence, any kind of abuse, and these things. And I think this is what you wanted to know. What are the laws which
Yes.
come to the
Yeah, a little
rescue of
bit
the
more maybe about the domestic violence, law, because many people I know, even very educated people, are not even aware of what is exactly domestic violence. What
yes,
comes under this heading? Is it
yes.
just being beaten up completely and bleeding out, or is it something, different? What is domestic violence in the
And
legal terms?
that's a very interesting question. Earlier, if you see, we had in Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code was somewhere enacted in the year 1860 by the British Parliament. So it's a very outdated law, and it was not having any specific provision to come to the rescue of a woman who is being abused in a domestic relationship. And there were later on provisions as to 498A. We might everyone must have heard about that, where if the lady is subjected to cruelty, and that cruelty was, since it was a criminal law, that cruelty had to be something physical. So
Right.
it did not cover many of the kind of abuses which the women have to face in a domestic relationship inside the four walls of her married matrimonial house. So, looking at all these things in 2005, a very landmark legislation has come, which is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. It's a very comprehensive legislation, very comprehensive act, and it defines violence in a multifarious ways. It's just not confined to physical violence. It is also it also talked about emotional violence, psychological violence, and financial violence, which largely covers all the kind of violence which a woman might be subjected to in a marriage in the four walls of her matrimonial home. So,
So
but the
I'm
thing is,
just cutting you short here. This question is coming to my mind. So are the Indian women protected against emotional abuse? Because that happens a lot, and protected against, their not being able to, speak up or have a proper, like they're not generally, they don't have the right to know, what is the financial earning of the man in many households. So
yes,
this is, and Indian, like, good girls are not supposed to talk money. So
money.
I think a lot of women in India suffer a lot because of that.
Hmm.
क्योंकि उनको पता ही नहीं होता उनका हस्बैंड क्या कमा रहा है, what they can actually demand, and what is the way they should, what their lifestyle should be or can be, or whether if they want to, start earning themselves and they're being stopped, whether all these things are being covered in some way or the other from the legal point of view. I would like
Yes,
you to tell my
these
audience.
all things, these all eventualities, these all conditions are covered under the Domestic Violence Act. That's why I'm referring, emphasizing more onto this act than to other sections, IPC sections, now BNS sections. I'm not referring that much to, because whatever the situations you just enumerated, they are covered under Domestic Violence Act. But the only thing is that in order to get justice, in order to get relief from a court of law, you have to first approach there. So, in any case, anybody who is being a victim of any kind of violence like that, if she is suffering because of the financial deprivation on the part of her husband or in-laws, or she being abused, or putting like tana marna kind of thing on her looks, for example. So it's
Yes.
not a beating thing. It's which definitely would be covered under BNS or old IPC, but this is something very psychological. So that kind of situations are covered under the Domestic Violence Act. There are various sections under which you can claim some
Nishant,
relief.
a lot of talk has happened about marital rape now these days. From our times, we were not even aware of a term that there could be a term like that, because the man was supposed to be all in all. It's his decision, his right. So married, it would come under like a marital right in a way. So
Yes.
this new concept that has come up, tell us the legal point of view in India about it.
Uh, in order to understand marital rape, we have to understand what is rape. Any sexual intercourse which happens with a woman without her consent. The catchword is consent.
Without.
Without her consent. The only thing the court will look into it is whether there was a consent, and that consent has to be free, without force, without coercion, without any kind of inducement kind of thing. So it has to be a free and clear consent of the lady. Now, if we see the Indian Penal Code, Section 375, and again told you that Indian IPC was enacted in 1860. That time back, so early, that point of time, women were considered chattels, or you can say movable property of the men. So,
Absolutely.
so they had all the right over that. So in that particular section 375, when it comes to having a sexual intercourse with one's own wife, the consent doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So there is
Does
no
matter.
requirement of consent of the wife. So therefore, a forceful intercourse with the wife does not fall in the category of rape per se, and that has
Okay.
continued in BNS also. The same position has continued. Now the women right group in India, because that even England has given up this particular thing, which has enacted for India in 1860. So they have brought in the concept of consent even inside the marriage. So
Yes.
even if a lady, the wife says no, that means no for all practical purposes. And if the husband violates her consent, forces himself, then that falls under the definition of rape in Western countries. So the women right activists, the women in India are also demanding the same kind of parity, because one's own body is the fort. It's my own fort, and nobody can just only because he's my husband can
Yeah.
violate
Not really human.
my override my consent with
Yes.
impunity.
Right. So I was just wondering, like you're saying, all these things are protected somewhat, but then suppose a woman has gone through a lot of emotional abuse. She has been to some kind of marital rape. She's been through, all this thing about body shaming and all that kind of thing that goes on. So once she wants to, if she wants to give a complaint about it on a legal platform, she
Hmm.
is normally asked to give in a lot of proofs. Now, how does a woman give proofs of these kind of things? That is the toughest thing. So, what is the stand of the court on this?
Ma'am, it's a very, very right question, but very interestingly, I would say, even most of the things which happen in within the four corners of matrimonial house, most of the people don't have any kind of evidence. So
Right.
what happens is the courts presume that a lady who is coming to a court of law and saying that she has been subjected to any kind of abuse, physical or emotional, on the face of it, she must be telling truth, because no lady would come forward and file a case against her husband or in-laws, which may jeopardize the marriage itself, because there can be retaliation if things are wrong. So the presumption, it moves on that presumption. But at the
Yeah.
same time, when the abuse is being happening, somebody is misbehaving, there could be some witnesses also. Say, for example, that lady's friend, that lady's some relative, some neighbor, or there could be CCTV installed in the house. Then, if she is, God forbid, beaten or physically abused, she might would have been taken to a hospital or to a dispensary, or she would have taken some medicines or consulted a doctor. So those all things become a very important evidence later on.
Yes.
At that point of time, that is absolutely not required that you bring all the evidence, but yeah, definitely when you are saying, alleging something, mere allegation, because neither you have the proof nor the husband has the proof, we will
Absolutely.
stand nowhere. But later on, we can always corroborate with the things. You can bring your witnesses to show that who can depose in your favor that you have been subjected to cruelty at your matrimonial home.
Right. But these days, Nishant, a lot of women are taking advantage of these kind of laws and harassing their in-laws and their husbands to get what they want. So
That's
there is
a very
another group
unfortunate.
of
Yes,
different kind of crime coming up, especially
yes,
in
ma'am.
the metropolitans. So
Yes,
what do
ma'am.
you have to say on that? How can the law protect those victims who are being targeted like this?
And that's a very correct question, ma'am. What is happening? You must have read in the newspaper that even the Supreme Court says that 498A is being, legal terrorism. The word has been used, legal terrorism, and
Yes.
that 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 has been used. This section has been more misused than used. What happens most of the time, the real sufferer who have no recourse to the course of law, who are not literate, who are not financially very strong, they don't use it. But they don't they are not in a position to go to a court, to go to police or something like that. But
Absolutely.
this the misuse is happening more in the metropolitan area,
Metros. Yeah.
rightly pointed out, because the women over there are educated, they are financially independent also, and they also get a lot of social support um, to a larger extent.
Yeah,
And
there
this
are a
has
lot
brought.
of cases that have happened, which I have been reading about, that, it's in connivance with the parents that the girls are targeting rich boys and then getting married. And immediately after the marriage, they try to create
so,
evidence of
so
all
what is
sorts
happening,
so that they
so
can, get hold of the money and the property of the family. So the
yes, yes.
target is a quick divorce which is loaded with a lot of gifts. So this has become a very common phenomena.
Yes, ma'am. There before 2014, the situation was that the woman used to file a 498A cruelty case, 406, and other sections of the IPC, and whosoever were named in the FIR, in the complaint of the lady, used to get arrested, and police would go and pick them up. Now,
Yes.
looking at the misuse of this particular provision in 2014, state versus Arnesh Kumar versus the state of Bihar, that Supreme Court judgment came, which was in the context of matrimonial dispute only, 498A only, but it was a broader safeguard which was provided that in cases where the punishment goes up to 7 years, police is not going to automatically arrest the accused person. They will the police is going to send a 41A CRPC notice and ask them to join investigation. If they don't join or they don't cooperate, in those circumstances only the police was going to arrest the people, the
Okay.
in-laws. And that has brought down much of the for ferocity of this particular section which was being misused against the in-laws. Definitely we come across many number of cases. We read, I handle also many number of cases where women have used these certain laws which were there for the protection of the women as a weapon to extort, sometimes to compel their husband and their in-laws to give in to whatever they want, to just submit to whatever they want.
So yeah, I understand all that, Nishant. आजकल ये बड़े it's kind of become a joke, no? That We've had these cases where the husband has gone on a honeymoon and got murdered. And had all sorts of cases going on in our country, which is so shocking. Like, one would not expect anything like that. And because of that, and because of the quick divorces that are happening, a lot of the young generation are not wanting to get married at all, because marriage जो एक पहले बहुत, because we've lived with Bollywood and Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge and all those, loving concepts of सौ जन्म का साथ and all that. तो वो हमारे subconscious में Indians के definitely है, which is the other extreme. But at the same time, that charm of wanting to be married, to have a committed partner, that is kind of vanishing from at least the metros, the society. I know so many people whose children have just refused to get married, saying that there's no point in getting married. My friend got married, he got divorced the next year. So what is the point? So these are the justifications they give. And when they hear about the kind of mud slushing that happens during divorce and all, they don't want to get into it. So this is becoming a huge problem, especially in the big cities. And it will, because now we are on social media, I'm sure it will go very fast to the other places also. So what do you have to say on that? Like, how do we protect this beautiful institution of marriage? Because I still feel it's a very beautiful institution and that's how it should remain. But what is there any kind of I don't know whether there's anything legal in that, but what's your take on that? Like, you think
Definitely.
the marriage institution will actually survive? Because we are talking about
Yes.
laws about it. तो वो
Uh,
institution ही नहीं रहेगी तो laws क्या करने? Just
obviously.
you know.
In fact, you answered by just posing a question because what the laws have to do over here, because it's more about cultural and upbringing thing, cultural thing, how the society looks at the marriage as such. So over a
Right.
period of time, if you see recently, we have become very much materialistic. I can I share a very interesting story over here. It's a real thing. One of my friends, when I was writing my UPSC examination, one of my friends who had sociology as one of his subjects,
Mm.
in the hobby, in the mains form, the hobby and other things are asked, what is your hobby? And he has filled up in his hobby column reading the matrimonial advertisements. Now that was very interesting. We also laughed a lot. How come this be? And under see the context. He was a sociology student. One of his
Okay.
optionals were sociology. Now the same thing happened in the interview board. I think Ms. Chokila Iyer, at that point of time, she was foreign secretary. She was the chairman of that particular board, and she asked everyone was laughed at it, and they asked why, how come this? He said, as a sociology student, I'm seeing the marked difference, the change where in the society. Earlier, people used to ask for in the matrimonial ad uh, सुंदर गृहस्थ घर के कार्यों में
Sushil.
दक्ष सुशील और माता पिता के सेवा ऐसी चीजें. Now
Right.
people are demanding working, very tall, very beautiful, white, convent educated, and that.
Earning.
So what is the expectation? Now what you are expecting from the girl is a beautiful lady, very tall, white color, and
Tall, slim, and fair. That is
yes,
basic.
yes, and you are not looking for a bahu who would take care of your parents
Yeah.
and everything. So you're expecting, this shows the marked change in the societal thinking pattern and preferences and all these things. And people were very the board was very much impressed with that answer. And the same is true over here. Now we are also looking marriage as a kind of business association, family, big tycoons coming together, entering into a kind of business association kind of thing. So definitely neither I'm asking for it nor I'm getting it. So
Right.
situation has come to this place. And looking at and this has led to and lot much glamorization of marriage, the kind of money people are spending. So your focus is more on your photo shoots,
Photography and people get
photography,
to know. Yeah.
destination wedding, the drinks which you are saying, the haldi, what you are wearing, the cloths, and all these
The
things.
great Indian marriage.
The great Indian man, the real
Absolutely.
love, the care, the human part aspect of. Now, see what is happening as on today. If you see older times, we had marriages. The whole family used to be involved doing smaller things. Now everybody comes a day before. They will stay in a hotel room. They will meet at the stage or the dinner table or somewhere, and then they will go back. So
True.
how formal we have become. So
There's no
that also is
bonding.
being reflected. That is also being reflected in the couple's life also. So
Okay.
everything has become transactional. No,
So I think,
I
do you think, Nishant, that this is one big reason why so many divorces are happening? That this attitude of transactional living, and what do you bring to the table and what I bring to the table,
yeah,
and all that kind of thing that goes on. So nobody is really interested in giving; they're just looking at what they can take.
yes,
So, so
and
they,
again, a very interesting thing may I tell you here. In our constitution, completely came into force on 26th January 1950.
right.
Entire constitution. We didn't have fundamental duties in our original constitution. Fundamental duties were added in 1976,
Okay.
26 years after the
Later.
constitution was running. Yes. So
Right.
we had fundamental rights, and Indian Part 3 of the Constitution of India, which deals with fundamental right, as one of the best, legal documents, you can say. But we didn't think about our duties. So that amiss is very much there in Indian psyche, I will say.
Yeah. So, do you think we have a need to create some fundamental duties kind of thing, constitution for the marriage and matrimonial, setups, so that
Uh,
it can, and also like we were discussing about prenups. So
hmm,
they can be a part, the fundamental duty to create a, decent prenup so that
hmm,
nobody is feeling, not living with a lot of uncertainty all the time कि मेरा कुछ लड़ाई होगी तो क्या होगा,
hmm.
or
Right, very correct.
basically for the woman it is a way of controlling the woman, no, that you'll be out on the road.
Hmm,
So if you say a word against us or
hmm.
against the family, so ये
Yeah.
भी बहुत होता है. तो इसको कैसे मतलब चेंज किया जा सकता है, and why is it not happening? Why do people want to mess up? I think because I have a feeling, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, that if this becomes a regularity, just
Hmm,
like before marriage we have to do they say ना रोका करना पड़ता है, सगाई करनी पड़ती है. तो
hmm,
जैसे रोका करना है, सगाई करनी है, वैसे एक प्रीनप अंडरस्टैंडिंग, एक मीटिंग कर लो दोनों फैमिलीज. So,
hmm.
won't that be a great idea? And then, of course, that doesn't mean that it's going to lead to a divorce. I think it
Obviously.
means more that you are open to honest communication with each other, and you can bond more as families or as couples,
Hmm,
with each other with more assurance. So,
hmm.
if that kind of thing becomes legalized, I think more youth will be willing to get married. Right now, because this is not there, this protection is not there, and especially the girls who have suffered and their friends are observing their suffering, or even the boys, I won't say just girls, even the boys are being harassed. So watching them, the other, the younger generation, the people who are younger to them, they are saying that this is useless, we are not going to get into it, we can just have. That is why all this thing about living in situationships, having multiple friends, all this is coming up, which is making our country very westernized, and it will lead to all the problems that the western world has. So I think Indian government, Indian legal systems, we all must wake up quickly to do something about this. It's a very serious issue, and I think we're
Yes,
just
ma'am.
closing our eyes to it. so
Yes,
far.
ma'am.
I mean, that's what how I'm feeling about the
Yeah,
situation
you
at
are
the
perfectly fine, and in fact, I have been a very strong advocate. I have done a lot of advocacy for giving legal sanction, legal sanctity to a prenup agreement in India. As on date, when we are discussing right now, prenup agreements, prenuptial agreements are not legally recognized. They are just, even if you enter into, they are just a piece of paper without any evidentiary or any kind of value when things go to before a court of law. Now, definitely, you said the situations you talked about. Now, we have to see from that perspective that marriage is a cultural thing. Marriage is not a legal thing. Law comes
absolutely.
later on and recognizes that thing which you culturally, socially, religiously have already performed. So, law cannot regulate many things and all the things. Larger social malaise which we see today, because of the kind of things you were talking about, it's more to do with a person's thinking, cultural values, systems, upbringing, and many other things.
Yeah, but that
Now,
is
hmm,
that's exactly because of the, I think because of so much of global exposure, people have started thinking differently, and they're not only thinking, they're acting differently also now.
yes, precisely.
So,
But
hope
our governments are always very slow. Our governments are always very
that's
slow.
really
They would
sad.
take their own good time to
Okay,
accept
I
some.
I know that you have done a lot of very successful mediations, and you have even helped couples go back and continue with their marriage successfully. So I would like you to share with the audience any such case which comes to your mind where you thought that they were just their idea of divorce was not really right, and they should have really worked on their marriage. ऐसा कोई case है? Because
Yes,
बड़ी जल्दी बच्चे आजकल I feel impatient हो जाते हैं with
yes,
each
yes,
other,
yes.
and then the educated ones know they can go for a divorce, so they'll run, or they it's just a way of
Hmm.
maybe getting a one up on the spouse. That
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, you don't behave yourself, I'll go for a divorce.
I have come across lot many number of cases. Definitely, as per my professional requirement, I am not going to share any name or something. I will be
No, no,
just
no
telling
need,
the
no need. Yeah.
factual perspective. Yeah, uh, in one lady who had come to me some time ago, because that's a fresh thing. That's why I'm telling this thing. So she had come. She had entered a marriage. The cultural, there was lot much cultural and regional difference between, because they were in a metropolitan city, girl from another cultural background, boy from other cultural background, and the girl was from a very conservative family, and the boy was from a very loud family, what we call. So during the courtship days, everyone was doing putting his her best foot forward, looking very modern,
Okay.
very flexible, and everything. The moment marriage happened, and she went to her in-laws' place, there was a cultural shock for her, because the in-laws were old tradition people, and there was a huge they were modern people, sorry, they were quite modern people, and there was a huge cultural shock. There was a huge shock for this lady, who thought where I had come. And over a period of time, she started feeling that she has entered into a wrong alliance, because it's just not about two people entering into a relationship. It's like two families which come together. So if the cultural difference, religious cultural difference are too very big, the there is huge pressure to even accommodate that thing and to adjust with those things. These were the issues where she really felt suffocated in the marriage, and because and she started communicating less with her husband, and then because she had issues with her in-laws, and then she would blame or talk to her husband. Her husband was, a traditional boy. He would say, "Ki aise hi hai," kind of thing. So the chasm, the differences between the husband and wife grew a lot, and that's that point of time she met me, and when I heard, I just asked her one thing: had he beaten you even a single time in this period? She said never. But whether he has abused you or gali baka ya kuch aisa kiya, she said never. So most of her grievances were against the in-laws. They were, even they used to interfere a lot. As per her, they used to interfere a lot and all these things. So the issue was not with the husband per se. The issue was because of the cultural difference. Even the parents of the boy were not entirely wrong. It was all about
Their
perspective.
expectations from the girl,
Expectations,
probably.
perspective, what is right, what is wrong.
Right.
That very thing was there. So I just asked her to also bring her husband,
Husband.
and when I talked to him, and both were there, I made them discuss the issues. And the
Yeah.
moment they
Open
started discussing,
communication.
talking about it, what she liked, what she did not like, now the explanation of the boy was also very valid, and she had to accept it. Matlab, you cannot change somebody who has lived his her life independently for the last 60, 70 years, just only because the bahu does not like that particular cultural or
Style.
way
Yeah.
of thinking or a style. So once these things they realize that most of their differences were more superficial than real,
Wow.
and accepting the person as it is, particularly the in-laws who are just there for say 5, 10, 15 years with you, or most of the time,
They're not even there these days.
yes, yeah, most of the time they're not even there. So you have to look their perspective also, give some space to them, let them say something. Unless and until it crosses a
Yeah.
particular limit, you can't get offended for by
Small
everything and
things.
anything.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to see if they, and as a matter of fact, they had also not abused. They had not
Yeah.
done anything wrong with the lady.
Obviously.
They had their own style of living and behaving or eating
Absolutely.
and everything, eating, drinking. But so how can you compel them? So that
Yes.
point of time, they started realizing, and we met 2, 3 times, I think 3 times, and then that realization
So I
prevailed
think
a
this
lot.
kind of a scenario would be easily, it can be kind of protected or not, it may not happen if couples, like I said, prenup should be a must. A pre-marriage counseling also should be a must.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
every couple who decides to get married, because nowadays, fortunately, we have so many coaches. We
Mm.
have premarital coaches. We
Yes.
have relationship coaches. I'm also an emotional resilience coach. So there are so many coaches you can take help from. You know, and you just have to take the decision as a couple that we must take counseling before we go into the
Yes.
marriage, understanding each other's families, each other's own, emotional setups. Like I was just thinking, apart from the legal thing, why do basically when couples move apart, it's a breakdown of communication, right?
Yes,
So
yes. That's the
it's
first.
a yeah, that's the first thing. So and then the misunderstandings start
Mm,
because they're not talking, they're not
mm,
opening up. What is the
yes.
exact, what is the real problem? They're not
Mm,
talking about it to each other.
mm,
And so they can't resolve anything. And then it
mm.
just goes on increasing and they just drift apart. And
Yes,
then
yes.
it comes to a position where there is no, return.
Mm.
So all that, and in some households, like just stopping communication is supposed to be a good way of handling resolutions. like handling conflict. But that is not true. बिकॉज जैसे टाइम विल, कई बार बोलते हैं, हमारे घर में भी बहुत बोलते हैं कि टाइम से सब ठीक हो जाएगा, बट बिलीव मी टाइम से कुछ ठीक नहीं होता. यू हैव टू मेक एन एफर्ट, यू नो. टाइम से जो दब रहा है वो दबा रह जाएगा तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा, जो नहीं दब रहा उसके लिए. बट द थिंग इज that
Exactly.
is not the solution of a proper, it's not a proper management of the conflict. So
Right.
that is something people must realize, that not to leave things, and whenever there is a little bit of problem also, we should, the
You
couple
know,
or the family should get
I'll
down
just
together,
share.
talk about it, and clear the air, what they say, clear the
I'll
air
say.
immediately.
I'll let me add to what you are saying. I'll say take professional help. Now,
Yes.
let me explain why I'm saying so. Professional help is required because we as individuals, say my brother, my sister, my family person, they are acting in an emotional manner. They have
Yes.
their own biases, and they would be transferring their biases to you. If you go and ask any family person, definitely they are all your well wishers, but at the end of the day they have their own biases, views about husbands, views about in-laws and all these things that might obscure or come in between what they are going to suggest you when you go and seek help from somebody in the family. Now,
Right.
if you go to a trained expert, a professional, that person knows what his biases are. He or she has been trained how to modulate, how to not let her or his bias come into the professional suggestion he or she is going to give to the
Yes.
client. So instead of just most of our decisions, we are influenced by our family members, our friends, but we tend to forget that they have their own biases which they may not be competent, may not be well equipped to keep away
Overcome.
while giving advice to you. So definitely seeking professional counseling in case things are not working, because see, if it's pretty easy to break up something, but it's quite a difficult task, quite a task to maintain something. So you will have to put some effort. If somebody is really interested in the marriage, want to save the marriage, and then uh, and situations sometimes arise where things don't look so bright ahead. One can take
Yeah.
professional help, and that can also let that person know whether it's right time to take a call, quit, or to put some effort to make it work.
Absolutely, because it is definitely not a one-sided thing. Both the parties have to be on one plane, whether they want to save the marriage or they just don't care about it. It's how much you value your relationship, right?
Exactly.
And I feel every relationship needs so much of nurturing, so much of time, so much of understanding, that if both the partners are willing to do that, there'll be never any problem.
Obviously.
And if they've had some pre counseling about this, they would understand that both of them should work on it. But the
Obviously.
problem is that they don't go for any such thing, and they don't even, after a point they start, they don't really value the relationship, because there's so much talk about self love these days. So everybody just wants to love themselves, and
Yes.
and they think that the other one must prove that
Hmm.
they are loving them. So वो
Yes.
जैसे लॉ कोर्ट्स प्रूफ मांगती हैं, ये अपने लेवल पे सब प्रूफ ही मांगते रहते हैं on how much you care for them, and they are not giving any proof from their side about their care. So that
Definitely.
is why things are, I think, crumbling so much,
Hmm.
because emotions and these things, like uh, I somebody told me, one of my gurus, he told me that in any relationship, it's like your bank account.
Hmm.
सो आपका अकाउंट उतना ही बढ़ेगा जितना आप उसमें क्रेडिट डालोगे. आप उसमें
Very
डेबिट करते जाओगे, करते जाओगे, करते जाओगे, तो account खाली हो जाएगा.
खाली हो जाएगा.
So
Exactly. That is also with the marriage, because
that's
and
exactly,
the
yeah.
very bad part, the very sad part of if two young adult think they can't live together, the things are toxic, falana dimkana, and this is my life. There is only one life, kind of thing.
Right.
Go good, but the worst part, the most saddening part of it is the victim. The real victim here are
Real
the
victim.
children. Are the children.
I think
So
everybody becomes a victim in such a situation where the
I would
children,
say,
parents,
I
even
would
they
say,
themselves, even the
yeah,
couple themselves, without realizing, they are kind
yeah,
of self-sabotaging their own life, you know. So it's
definitely,
not
definitely. But the
अभी
most
का हाल बुरा
innocent
हो
out
जाता
of them, the most innocent out of them would be the children.
है. Yeah.
None
But
of
I
their
would not
fault.
say that it affects them the most because it affects everybody, I feel, you know,
They definitely, to an extent, it definitely it's a breakdown of a marriage is a huge
for
thing, and
everybody. Yeah.
emotionally, psychologically, it's a devastating thing
So,
for
yeah.
both the husband and wife. But I'm talking about my practical experiences in the courts. These children really suffer a lot. Maximum, they
Because
are
sometimes,
deprived
yeah,
of the love of either their mother or their father, the
both
proper
the
bring
parents
up.
don't want
Yes,
them. That
yes.
can become a big issue. Yes.
That
I
also,
know of
and
such
that
cases.
also impacts their future lives and all, their marriages.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. It's very difficult for, when I know of such cases where the mother also doesn't want the kids and the father also doesn't want the kids. And it's crazy, you know. For
yes,
the child, it can be very, very traumatic in that
very
case.
traumatic. Yes, yes. That's
So
that.
I think the moral of the story is that we cannot really depend on the laws or the courts if we want to have a happy married life.
Ma'am, it's
I think
something like
it
it's
would
something
be
like
till we can just hope and pray that the courts come up with
no,
proper
find an
legal
insurance policy.
prenups.
Health insurance policy cannot give you the health. It's
That's
something like
true.
that.
That's true.
So you will have
So
to take care of your health. So it's
yeah.
the insurance policy comes only when there is a huge setback to your
Right.
health. So,
So I think coaches and counselors can do help you more, and your own thought process on how much you value the relationship, how much you value your marriage, how
mm,
much are you willing to communicate to each other and work on it, so
mm,
that it becomes the beautiful institution that it's meant to be for you, that offers
definitely.
companionship, that offers love, that offers all the most beautiful things in the world can come through it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it's so unfortunate that people are just losing out on all that. It's really saddening.
I just would come back to one thing we could not discuss it, but you have raised it. I also talked about it. That is prenuptial agreements. And I was saying, even if it is not being recognized in India as of now, prenuptial agreements do not have any legal sanctity in the eyes of law. I would always, for those who are going to get married, who are those people you gave example who think if shadi nahi karni ye because of so and so reasons, so they should always go for a prenuptial agreement.
Prenup
you know
beforehand.
you, even though law does not recognize it today, we are talking
Yes,
in what
mutually
is
you
today.
can. Yeah.
Yesterday it can, the law can
Tomorrow.
always
Yeah,
recognize.
but the thing is that even if the law doesn't, between the families or the couple, you can always honor it yourself, you know.
Apart from
Yes.
that, when you are talking, when you are getting it drafted by an expert or something, you are
Yeah.
going to share your views.
Right.
What are your expectations? So
Yes.
that
So
is
you'll
a clear communication basically, and
come to
that
a
will
better
take.
understanding. Acha,
Yes,
so
that is
Nishant,
better
what would
understood.
you suggest? What are the things? Suppose I am going to get married and I want to make my prenup. So, what is the things that I should want in it and talk about? I'm curious to know this now.
uh, I would say in a prenuptial agreements, you have to be very clear about your financial understanding should be there as to, say, for example, tomorrow if divorce takes place, who would be responsible for the kids? Who would
Right.
what will be the portion of financial responsibility? Who is going to take care of? If you have taken a combined loan, who is going to pay it? So
Right.
how shares you have taken, any kind of property, how
And if you
that is
have combined earnings also, like,
the how
because
that is going to be
I know
split.
of a friend who had a joint account with her partner, and he quietly siphoned off all the money and then later ditched her. You know,
Okay, so
the whole
that
lot of 20 years of her earnings just went down the drain, and she could do nothing about it.
yes, yes, that kind of thing could be there, and then prenup also can factor about in case what will happen if they go for they are going for divorce, whether see what will happen, there will be a clarity from the very beginning, and that
Right.
will save much of the heartburn, the most pathetic thing which happens in a family court, the
Mm.
trauma and the drama which
Drama.
happens over there can be reduced, and since we were very clear from day one कि in these situations these things we will be doing, getting a divorce would be an easy exercise
Right.
instead of waiting for years and
But
years.
don't you think, Nishant, in our kind of culture, जब जैसे प्रीनप की कोई बात करेगा तो वहीं पे ही शादी टूट जाएगी, आगे नहीं
Ma'am,
बढ़ेगी.
it's again I'll come to that insurance thing. We always take life insurance, term
Actually, I
insurance,
think that
health
would be a
insurance.
good thing, ना कि पहले
Yes,
ही तोड़ लो, बाद में सफर करने से अच्छा अभी खत्म करो बात को, नहीं एक दूसरे की सूट हो रही चीजें तो है ना.
yes, yes.
Mindset.
It's
Actually,
more
yeah,
about
it will reveal a lot of the mindset of the
can we
parties.
are we not doing don't we write our will when we are alive? Don't
Right.
we do our estate planning when we are alive?
Right.
So it's it's something. If it happens, it's
Yes.
something like it's like a term plan or a health insurance policy. The
Right.
if you don't fall ill, your premium goes. Nothing comes
Yeah.
back to you. So it's
But
a
you know, this
contingency, right?
prenup thing is something like, you know, what we have wearing the belt in the car seat. जब तक कोई penalties नहीं होंगी, कोई law नहीं बनेगा, कोई करेगा नहीं. अब दिल्ली में
Uh,
कोई भी कार
the
सीट बेल्ट के
government is
बिना नहीं
not
बैठता.
not putting any kind of penalty. That's why prenups are not there.
Yes.
But say say you got married married in India and you moved to a country like US
Right.
or somewhere in Europe where prenups are admitted. So
Right.
there it will help you.
Then it will help. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about my Indian people here itself, what is going to happen. Because, you know, वहाँ पे तो बहुत different laws हैं. We're not discussing
Yes.
them. They have
Hmm.
enough protection and they have a
Enough
different
protection.
kind of. उनका mindset भी अलग है. वहाँ पे divorce is not such a stigma also.
Hmm.
वहाँ तो 3 बार डाइवोर्स हो जाते हैं. हमारे तो सिर्फ सीरियल्स में होते हैं 3 4 बार, एटलीस्ट अभी तक सोसाइटी में नहीं होते. That's a good thing. But when it will start entering the society, we don't know. So I think we should really protect our culture, and it should be also, you know, get the right laws so that we are able to do that. So if prenups are required or other
Yes.
things are required, all these
So,
things should be looked
when
into.
lack of prenups is
Yeah.
deterring many young people entering into marriages because they think कि कल को मेरी बीवी ये ले जाएगी, मेरा husband ये ले जाएगा, kind of thing. These and many examples which you gave, where
Right.
young people are scared of marriage because of these reasons. कल को क्या होगा? शादी टूट जाएगी तो मेरे पैसे सारे ले जाएगी, चाहे ये हो जाएगा, मेरा बढ़ जाएगा, that kind of thing. At least they would be clear.
Also, I think Nishan, especially in the metros, हम लोग जो थे ना, I'm an old timer, no, I'm a senior citizen now. So जो मेरा टाइम था उस टाइम हम लोग एक मेरे को हमेशा ये बात ध्यान आती है कि we were always taught to be आज्ञाकारी, obediently yours. हम चिट्ठी भी लिखते थे तो हम उसमें yours obediently लिखते थे ये word जो obedience है ना, this has been totally erased in this new generation. There is no
Yes,
such thing, no concept of obedience anymore.
yes,
There
yes.
is a concept of questioning every little thing your parents are saying to you, and there is now. It's so unfortunate. People are like the young kids in the schools. They make fun of their teachers. Guru का तो कोई respect ही नहीं है, you know. So especially in the public schools,
Hmm.
the better, so-called, the better the school, the less the values, you
Yes,
know.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So this is something that really, makes me feel very concerned. And अगर ये सारी चीजें नहीं है तो फिर we have to, if the society is changing, then we have to create these kind of laws to protect at least the basic institution, the basic harmony, and the way peace can be maintained in the society, because
Yes,
ultimately we need a peaceful and happy society, right? It really
yes.
doesn't matter कि वो
But these things go out of the realm of law. It's not.
yes, they absolutely go out of the realm of law. That is what I'm thinking. तो law क्या कर लेगा? तारीख पे
Okay,
तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख, nothing.
unless and until there is a dispute, because we are talking about ought to be or should be,
Yeah,
ought to be kind of situation, and their
yes.
law can do nothing. It's all
नहीं
about
तो कई
uh,
बार ना disputes families में मैंने देखा सारी उम्र ही चलते रहते, लॉ के पास भी नहीं जाते लोग, but they're not happy. So it's creating an unhappy society that way also. So
hmm,
in fact, when because of whatever little provision the law is giving the people, there are at least some people who can come out of that mess and live a relatively happy life, you can
yeah,
say.
definitely,
If
definitely,
not a perfectly happy life. So
obviously.
that's also equally
Even
important.
laws cannot, just like life cannot be perfect, laws are also not perfect, and
Right.
implementation
So,
of laws is also not
Nishant,
perfect.
I think we can wind up our discussion today. You've given us
Yes,
a lot of insights. So, what do you think are the most important five things you would like to tell the youth of today, especially those who are not wanting to get married? And you can also tell to those who are wanting to get married. 5 points for those
ma'am.
people who don't want to get married.
Don't want to get married. I'll say that again. I'll be moving out of my expertise when
Okay.
I'm recommending this. I would just say that it's an emotional bonding. Marriage is just not coming off together of two people. It's coming together of two different mindsets, two different cultures, two different
Right.
habits, and all these things. And marriage requires time and effort from both the side to work.
Absolutely.
It's not turnkey project kind of thing where from day one everything has to work, because there have to be lot many adjustments. I've seen, there I just
Right.
if I can mention, there were disputes as to the snoring, you know, snoring of
Right.
the couple.
I
So
know, I heard
so
that. She took a
that, that
divorce because she used to smoke.
there are so many you have to adjust, you have to accept. So
So
openness is
I
one
would
thing.
tell them don't give up.
Yes,
Give it a
yes,
try
yes.
and
Give it a try. Give
give
it a
it a
try.
try, give it your best shot. वो कहते हैं ना, वो लड्डू है, खाया तो पछताए, नहीं खाया तो भी पछताओगे, तो
Yes,
एक बार
ma'am.
खा लो. अगर कुछ
Uh,
गड़बड़ होगी तो निशांत है ना, मीडिएशन करा देगा.
okay.
शांति से सब ठीक हो
Obviously,
जाएगा. So don't
obviously.
get so worried about what might happen,
Yes,
and
because
focus
once
on
you
what good it can bring you, right?
yes, ma'am. So more you think about what is going to happen in the future, you are in the realm of hypothesis or analysis paralysis kind of situation is there. So
Absolutely.
when once you start thinking a lot, negative things come a lot to your mind. You are more
Right,
influenced by the media news about a husband being killed, put
right,
in a
right.
box or something kind of thing. You would be more scared of
और
that.
जो डाइवोर्स करने आ गए हैं उनको एक बार फिर से सोच लो. एक बार रिव्यू कर लो. Go to
Yes,
a
yes.
counselor.
And as a matter of
Look,
fact, man, may I tell you, ma'am, whenever a couple goes to a family court,
right.
it's almost mandatory for the court to send them for counseling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Once the counseling fails, then only the
Then,
proceeding can start. And the counselors, they
right,
try to assess the differences. They try to even mediate and try to see if things could be settled or not.
right,
So even the courts try their level best to get matrimonial disputes resolved, not to decide.
right.
Deciding a matrimonial dispute is a secondary thing. The first thing they do is
To
they try to
resolve.
solve
Yeah.
it.
और अगर फिर divorce हो ही गया है, तो what will you tell them?
Uh, if divorce has happened, ma'am, now you have to start. A person has to start even before that. Divorce doesn't happen overnight. It's
That's
a
true.
process. It's a process. So what I would suggest is, if somebody is going through rough phase, and he or she is planning to go to part ways from get out of that say toxic marriage, I will say the reason for that getting out is, so that person first has to have some clear idea as to, you have to start collecting all the important documents, like
Okay.
your PAN, your Aadhaar, your date of birth, all kind of documents, insurance papers, property
Okay.
documents,
Keep
everything,
them
all the
properly.
legal documents which you might require as an individual, as a single person, you would require in the
Person. Right.
future life ahead. Then try to close all joint accounts, all joint bank loans, credit card things. You That has to be done. You must do that. Then thirdly, you can make changes in your will, in your nominees.
Right.
Earlier when everything was cozy and everything was good, the in the will, your spouse is going to be your in case of death,
वो तो
that is
automatic
going to get. uh, so you have to get it changed from your insurance policy, your health insurance policy, everywhere, life insurance, you get to change your nominee, and
right.
in the bank accounts, everything. Then you have to have a clear idea as to which lawyer you are going to go to, why you are
Right.
going to go to, and what are the terms you are going to have over there. So here
Right.
comes the importance of prenup. If not, it is not there, you will have to make it from scratch. What would be the term? Who will be having the custody of the child? Who would be
Right.
if the say lady is not financially that much independent, how she is going to meet the day-to-day expenses, as well as expenses for the children's education and higher education and marriage and all these things. So these things are also very much required, which you will advise your lawyer to put into your
Also, I feel if there are children involved, then the couple must go for counseling for co-parenting, because it
definitely,
should not be, and
definitely,
they should end up as friends as far as the children are concerned,
definitely,
because
definitely.
that is the only way for the family to kind of reduce the suffering and trauma. बट
Yes,
ये
yes,
भी नहीं
that is
होता, बहुत से केसेस में बिल्कुल ही कट ऑफ कर देते हैं.
पूरी तरह.
तो द
That's what I'm
फादर
saying,
इज,
because that point of time you are filled with, both the parties are
या,
filled with hatred or kind of very negativity towards each
yes,
other.
yes. So the father, I know a friend of mine, like he, her younger brother, he developed cancer because of that, because his wife would not allow him to meet the children, and he was very fond of his children. So ultimately, he died very early and of cancer because of the stress. And the
Yes,
same thing goes for a lot of women also. Like I know a lady who separated, and she had two kids, and because she could not afford, putting them in the kind of schools they were studying, so she left them with the in-laws. And then after that, the in-laws just would not allow her to meet them. And now they're grown up, and she's still waiting, uh, and their children probably have been fed a different story, which happens very often. So the narrative has been changed as far as the children are concerned. So they're not very eager to meet her either.
yes,
So that is, I think, the highest form of cruelty you can have for a mother, not to allow her to meet the children, because that pain is very unbearable. And because of that, although She is a very highly educated person. She's done a PhD and she's a very senior professor. But despite that, that internal pain is something she had to take help for, you know. It could
That's
not go. It was,
that,
and it still has not gone, but it has, she's been able to cope with it. So ऐसी situations aa jati hain, you know, which is really sad. And as we have just become aware that law can do just the bare minimum for all of us. So I think we should be very, very careful
is
on choosing our partners and how to go about it and how to, you know, carry on the marriage, and if it comes to a divorce, how to deal with it in a proper way so that not much suffering comes through for everybody. So that has really been a very, I think, insightful discussion, Nishant. Thank you so much for
it
coming
was
on the show.
so good
And I
discussing with
hope
you.
it has answered some questions for our viewers. And this will be actually, I feel like taking it forward to another episode on, you know, the
Let
right
me know.
way to choose your partner and to the right kind of drafting for the prenups and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
But
definitely
I don't know whether
we can have it. We can
I
have it
don't know
because
whether that would be
largely
allowed in 10 years.
we are here to create awareness. So
Yes.
we can go into that aspect also.
Yes, we will do that some other on some other platform, because as a
Yes,
news network channel, this is more dedicated to, you know, inspiring the society. My show is more about inspiring the society to take the right steps in whatever, you know, field they are in, whether it's a mindset. And today it's been a very, very sensitive topic, marriage, and I think people will definitely benefit from our conversation. So
okay.
thank you so much for being on the
So
show.
much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.